100% every builder is going to go through an evolution, a learning curve of fiscal responsibility.
Mics are hot. We're live. Well, I guess not live, but we're recording. Adam, appreciate you coming on the show, dude.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. You know, you and I have got a rich history together, and I expect the conversation, as it usually is, to be very rich.
Very rich, warm, easy, conversational.
No doubt, yeah, with a little beard, massage in there, a beard tug, that sort of thing too.
That's right. That's right. You know, the beard gets a lot of attention. I'm starting to think like I don't think I could shave it if I wanted to.
Yeah, do you
I
think it's
think
part
it's
of your
like a
avatar
part
now
of
too? Yeah,
huh?
it's part of your avatar now. You can't get rid of it.
Yeah, it's like kind of a part of the brand. Not to say that I would shave it. I mean, I've had a beard for like 10, 15 years, as long as I could have a beard. So anyways, enough about beard
10 or
talk.
15 years. Yeah, I would imagine you started growing one around the age of 12.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Okay, I'm 30. I
Okay,
started
but that was pretty damn close.
I started growing facial hair when about 15, 16, right there. It wasn't anything to write home about by any means. I started with a goatee, right? Got plenty of sunshine, committed to the process, and over the next few years it flourished into a beard.
Is that part of the process? You need sunshine on your skin to grow facial hair?
A lot of sunshine, a lot of fertilizer. You got to really make sure that it comes in thick. I always, when people do ask about the beard, they're like, "Great beard." I'm like, "Okay, sweet." Not everyone can grow a beard, but you really need to commit to it. And I always say, give yourself a canvas, grow it out longer than you want to, and then go to a barber and have someone cut it into something, and then grow it longer than you want to, and then have them trim it, and you'll have a beard in no time. It's a process thing. Sunshine and fertilizer, miracle grow aside, it's a pretty easy process.
I would not have figured out that it was, or imagined that it was that in depth of a process and a plan. But I do like it. We're probably going to talk a lot about processes today, so I dig it. I like the intentionality of it. I just can't grow it right there.
Dude, everyone talks about these patches or like the gaps or whatever. Dude, my cheeks are as patchy as they come. But you got to grow it out. You got to grow it out and let the barber do their thing and blend it in, and everything looks good. Don't write it off, Adam. Don't write it off. You with a beard would be just fucking incredible.
Yeah, I feel like I could probably say that if it was a Midwesterner, rural America, maybe Boston. Nothing against Boston,
yeah.
But there are certain places in the country where I think, and this is nothing. Maybe this is totally off topic, but
it is. But we're fine. Keep going.
Do we expect that my builder, Bob the builder, or do we expect him to have a beard or not expect him to have a beard? I mean, certainly in everything that we do, we think about how we want to present ourselves to reflect the work that we do. I would expect you to be an awesome builder, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
your name not to be Reece, but Bob the builder with a beard.
Correct.
I feel like
Triple
that
B.
right there is just like a shoe-in. Like, I don't know why you're doing what you do. You might as well be a Bob the builder.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm not, I mean, I grew up with a home builder, and it was a lot of screeding concrete, demolition, like doing just like stuff around the job site, and it just didn't click for me. That wasn't my jam. I wasn't trying to figure out like, how can I get good at finished carpentry, or like super fascinated with framing or roofing. I was like, how fast can I get out of the situation? But I do have a massive empathy for the fine American contractor, and I have found my angle to support them, even though it's not with a hammer, it is with solutions. So yeah. I mean, it's it kind of comes with the territory. I think you're looking too much into this like regional beard concept. I think Charleston, South Carolina would welcome a beard for sure. That's just my take, though. We can agree to disagree.
I'm all into inclusion.
All in Copenhaver, everybody. Okay, cool. Well, enough of this rant, Adam. Let's get the listeners a little background on yourself. Tell them who you are, what you and your brother have built, what you guys are doing.
All right. Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, thank you for mentioning Ben. Ben's not on here today with us, but he is
Ben's the man.
He's awesome. The better half. Ben and I are twins. We are birthed in the same day together. We grew up together. We share Well, we just share the same upbringing, a lot of the same interests, and I think that we click extremely well in the business that we're in here in Charleston, South Carolina, building some of the most bad to the bone projects and most wonderful clients. And we've had an advantage, frankly, because we are twin brothers, and we do help each other and support each other. And we operate on the same wavelength, and we operate with the same mission and core values. And when you're in alignment, like with somebody like that, you really do have an opportunity to generate momentum and get on a hyperbolic rather than linear growth curve of what you're able to accomplish together. So that's been great. Ben and I have had a lot of fun doing what we do, but it also wouldn't be without giving credit to the entire team that we built too. So here in
Totally.
Charleston, we've just got a rock star dream team. I mean, it's on our t-shirts, Dream Team Charleston. I don't think we can officially trademark that. But yeah, that's what we call ourselves. We refer to ourselves as professionals, Dream Team Charleston, bad to the bone, other things that encompass just people that love what they do and operate at the highest level.
Totally. I know, I love it. And you have always been like massively complimentary towards your team. You have always been like a team first leader. Which I've always respected, and that's, I think, frankly, why I've been like drawn to you and your team so much, is because you guys are running a really polished operation. And I talk to a lot of builders, so kudos to you guys. But with that said, I mean, I think even just for like the sake of the listeners, they could look at Cope Grand, they could look at the homes and the product that you're building, and they would certainly agree that they are bad to the bone. Like, you guys are building some very high end, very luxury, very disruptive product. And I think I just did a podcast the other day with a builder who's focusing on like entry level homes, like first time home buyer product, anywhere from like a $250,000 to a $400,000 a year product or unit product in Tupelo, Mississippi. And we opened this conversation up that it's like it can seem like intimidating, or like everyone has to drive in that direction. How did you and Ben and the team get to building the level of product that you are?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. One home, one step, one continued conversation of bettering our best every day. And so I still remember. I remember our first projects. I remember our first house. I remember our first renovation.
What was it?
And the first house was a $600,000, which that's a high end house when we first started building. That's a
And when was
luxury.
this? How long ago was this?
Almost 10 years ago now.
Okay.
So 2015, and that was the first one. Sean and Susan Payment, love you guys. I mean, right here, they're incredible. Retired attorney, and they're just really great clients to have, particularly on our first house. Remember the second one, Thomas Finucane. You guys, the Finucanes are incredible. I just run into him on the boat randomly with Mike Weaver, which is a mutual contact when he
Yep.
was here in town. We go to the beach on the boat because I'm giving them the experience of Charleston. And there are our second clients that we ever built a house for, which was the Finucanes. And it's just so great to be in their warm embrace. But there are projects in there. So those were in the 600 levels, but there's renovations, there's smaller houses. I remember building our smallest house was about 700 square feet. Built it for 200 some $1,000. It was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, family room, kitchen, completely hurricane esque proof. Very much high quality
Cool.
home. And then I remember going into the million mark, and I was like, "Holy smokes, we're building $1 million houses now." And then I remember the $2 million houses, and the three, and the four, and the five, and now we're topping near 10. And I say that very humbly to say it took an incredible amount of hard work. And it took a lot of hard work from not myself, but doubled up upon Ben, and then just commitment, tireless and relentless commitment from our team to be able to earn those opportunities to be able to do so. And you can't just go from 1 to 10. You really do need to make those incremental steps
Hmm.
to be able to build those projects, to be able to build the muscles, to build the processes, to build the systems, to build the protection devices for your clients at each incremental higher level. Because the higher that you go, the more the risk on those projects, the more the
Totally.
liability. and it can collapse and fall down really easily on yourself if you're not prepared and you don't have the muscle to be able to drive through and provide the level of service and quality that those projects do require.
Totally. Well, and you talked about like I'm not going to call it the obvious, but probably like the comment that gets made the most is like the amount of hard work that goes into it. And you talk a lot about like the effort that goes into it, the incremental steps, the learning, the process development, the insulation from risk and liability, all that stuff. I can't imagine that you're just like, you just get done with a $500,000 home, you got a $750,000 home in the pipeline, and you're all excited about it. You go, God, we should really start building processes. Unless it was, you correct me if I'm wrong, but what were some of those hard earned lessons that you guys came across that prompted you to lean more into the process development, the insulation, and then ultimately building yourselves to a position to be able to take on these much larger projects?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question and realization that, on the organic growth map, and I do think that organizations and people grow at different paces, right? And most of
Mm-hmm.
that evolution or most of that growth is through their unique learning opportunities, their unique experience.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning, I've got to say that Ben and I were actually after a volume. I remember my vision board. I remember how
Mm-hmm.
many homes I wanted to build in a year. It was 16. I thought that if I got to 16, that I would meet my financial goals and those sort of things. Um, we did just about get there, and then we pulled back. And the reason we pulled back is because obviously your goals change after you learn more, and
Totally.
um, and we shifted gears from not wanting to do volume. We figured out that our skill set was better aligned to provide customer service to discerning clients, no matter what price point that they're at, right? But we were no longer after that volume. But the benefit of going to that volume experience was it allowed us to experience and learn quicker than we would have otherwise ever done.
Love
Uh,
it.
Imagine building one or two houses a year versus building that we were up to, having 12 projects going on at one time years ago. We learned so quick, and we learned
Totally.
well, and we are very good at just taking those learning moments and putting them into what we call processes, systems and processes, so that we can create repeatable systems with predictable results. From
Totally.
that, there's beautiful thing happens where uh, chaos is probably, although maybe not always defined that way by builders, it's the biggest stressor that any builder has is this thing that comes in, what I call ankle grabbers, and creates chaos. And you're like, how do you figure all this stuff out? How do I keep on falling into these pitfalls? Why do I keep on getting my ankle tripped up? Each of those moments that we found doing volume, we put into our custom process. And we made sure that a lot of those mistakes are mitigated, vetted out, and we're not experiencing them anymore. We are in this unique, industry, and particularly here in Charleston, what we're doing is building every unique house. Each one is unique and to a unique client with a unique budget and a unique location. So every single one is different.
Mhm.
It's not like we've planned, home plan A, B, and C, and we've done each of those homes 100 times, and we know exactly what to expect. So that's also the unique challenge in what drives us. Because if I was just building plan A, B, or C over and over again, my brain would probably dismiss myself from it.
Totally.
Wouldn't be engaged in it. I wouldn't be excited about the growth and doing this next one and doing that one and doing it better, because we probably would have figured it out pretty damn quickly.
Totally. Like, and that's a great answer. I mean, it's a culmination of things in your comment of like just getting the repetition and the volume of units that you were building, the projects that you were doing. I think that's great. I mean, we see it over at Adaptive. We see it. I saw it in other parts of my career. Is like you need at bats, right? You need at bats. You need to like experience the process until you can start making the process better. What were like tactically like dust off the cobwebs, dig back. What were some of the biggest learning curves, or I guess like ankle grabbers, as you called them, when
Yeah.
you were building at volume that just like totally stood out and you're like, damn, I wish we would have done that better. Or you applied it and you're like, we're totally building a process around this to prevent it from happening again. I'm putting you on the spot, but you can take a minute. Think about it.
Yeah,
Like, what were
no,
some of the most notable?
there's what I'm thinking about and laughing about is there's many things, but I think the most meaningful one, maybe for our audience, is the opportunity to have a very accurate and detailed expectation of the financial performance of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Totally.
Making, if you're moving at 12 different custom homes a year, there's going to be some level of assumptions that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, especially with a smaller team, so to speak. We've got a bigger team, and one of the features of a bigger team is we get into the details and figure things out in
Mm-hmm.
pre-construction. We are not a one-man show with a pickup truck that, I've done this 100 times, I can do it again, and you make assumptions like that, and that's okay, completely okay. There's a different
Mm-hmm.
level of service that different level of clients are looking for. Um, when Ben and I were younger in Cope Grand, we were setting up budgets on, first, call it the yellow pad and then Excel. And then we quickly found Buildertrend. But even in Buildertrend, as a job costing software platform, you can still take the easy way out. You can
Mm-hmm.
still have a budget that has 20 items to describe the full scope of construction of a house with just bigger buckets, and buckets that maybe don't include a lot of detail.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what our estimates and our proposals look like
How many
today.
line items are you running?
Um, in between, depending on the project, in between 60 and 80.
Beautiful. Okay. I'm glad you didn't throw out like 200, 250.
No,
You hear
no,
some crazy
actually,
stuff.
we did. We actually, I went through a phase of, okay, we got to track this. In order to track it, we got to measure it. So we need to be extremely detailed. And what I figured out, and I'll give an example of that. We used to do rough plumbing, finished plumbing. That's pretty easy, right? Those are just two items. But we figured out that there actually is confusion and chaos with more options. So
Totally.
the project managers would get confused of, okay, from an estimation standpoint, we've got 250 line items. Well, which one do I code CMU block to? You know,
Totally.
in addition to that, it's like you broke out the CMU block, you broke out the mortar, you broke out the labor, you broke out the rebar, you broke out the block fill, the stucco. In reality, it's getting done by all the same contractor or two contractors. And then when their invoice comes in, you're like, how do I split this up into these cost codes that they were budgeted for? So there is chaos if you try to get too detailed. And so we've just got very specific on the scopes of the work. And frankly, it's by which invoices are we receiving and what scopes of work are in those invoices. That's how our budgets are set up nowadays.
Love
Very
it. And go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just given. I think it's given the appropriate amount of detail, and given the efficiency. And now that we're also running, for years now, running cost plus budgets,
Mm-hmm.
man, you want to try to confuse a client?
Yeah.
Be
Throw a bunch
unorganized.
of cost
Be
codes in there.
unorganized on a cost plus budget. You want to
Totally.
create some liability. You want to create a bad relationship. Be unorganized on a cost plus budget. Try that out.
Totally. Totally. Well, and I think like even more so, like whether it's a client or it's an employee or whatever, or even just like reflective on a project and how do we do, like you've got to remember that the cost code needs to be telling a meaningful story, right? And the more that you add to it, it dilutes that story that you could potentially be telling. And when you, to your point of like adding, I can't remember the phrase you had. It was like when you add volume of cost codes, it creates confusion, something along
Yeah.
those lines, which is
Mhm.
accurate.
Mhm.
Um, but basically, if you do that, you're by default with the confusion not using cost codes appropriately. You could be bucketing stuff in the wrong area, and then when you're looking at your historics and you're running estimates and bidding and stuff in the background, and you're looking at pre-con like how could we be running this better? You look at this big diluted list of cost codes that don't mean anything. It's like we don't need to track the 2x4, but
No,
we should be tracking framing, right?
absolutely.
And then we can go back on our historicals and we can look and it's like we just did a 6,000 square foot home. It's effectively the same product as what we had done here. This is what we can look at from a job costing standpoint. That's the entire intention of it. Um, on that thread, I'm curious, was there ever a point when it comes to, because you mentioned that you went to that level before, like the tons of cost codes that we got to track everything. Was there ever a point where you guys almost like lost control on this thing, or you almost thought you were going to lose a big project or like the business was going to go south type of situation?
Um, Losing control, or business going south. Uh, no, that might sound.
Come on. There was a time, Adam. Was there? I'm just busting your chops.
You might, yeah, you should do that. You should definitely call me out. Like, come on, Adam. Remember, dig deep. I'll try to dig deep, but let me finish my first comment.
Yeah.
There was never a time that I felt over leveraged, at risk, right? There's always issues, or there has growing a business, right? There's business issues, potentially took on the wrong client. But there was never anything that Ben and I or our team were not willing to make sure that we were going to be safe and we were going to be doing the right thing for whoever was involved,
Mm-hmm.
teammates, team, organization, our clients, our trades, our suppliers. So I would think that there has been plenty of things that tried to sink us. But I think the resiliency behind Ben and I and the team really haven't ever gotten us close. And I'm going to knock on wood to that. I don't ever want to be tested like that. But I do think that we've also had a wonderful team of advisors, clients, accounting professionals that have always looked after our best practices and what we were doing to help make sure that we were keeping everybody protected.
Love it. Love it. Well,
But
and
so
I think
give me an example. If you throw out, if that's a question that you might get to
mhm.
with other folks, I mean, where are some other folks almost lost it?
So I think that the reason I bring up the lost it thing is because there's like a statistic out there, and this is certainly like not to the decimal accurate, but it's something along the lines of like 60% of builders fail because of bankruptcy, which is typically because of poor cash flow management, right?
Yeah.
And that goes into, I mean, you made comments about running cost plus, you made comments about tracking cost and cost coding. And I like every time that I talk to someone about it, it's not as much of like they almost lost their business because of it. Actually, there was one that I just had recently, and there was like $180,000 issue. But it's not uncommon for me to talk to builders, and candidly, Adam, like builders like you that are building very high end luxury products, that at some point they were looking at like a 50 to $100,000 loss, and like it put them in a really hard situation of like not making what they should have, or years of thinking they were making X dollars but actually coming out after like a forensic analysis on their books being like, you might have 500,000 in cash in the bank, but
It's not
after
yours.
we run whip, you're actually down, you're under billed 80 or 800 grand, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're effectively $300,000 in the hole, right? That's what I'm talking about. It's like, do you have any stories like that that's like you and Ben came across and you had to dig out of?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, we've definitely written some checks. I hope to never write one again.
And
But
just to clarify, you say you've had like you and Ben like out of the savings account just had to write a check
out
personally.
of Cope Grand savings account that was unexpected to take care of situations, yes, and
Dang.
most notably, I mean, it's happened. It's happened a number of times, but most notably, it was during COVID. Um,
Yeah.
Absolutely. While we had provisions in our construction agreement for escalations of materials, it was not uncommon during that time to find the price of the lumber package, even though we said, hey, we have no idea what this is going to end up at. We don't know. There were lumber packages that were 60, 80, 100, over $100,000 over what we originally budgeted. And
Mm-hmm.
anybody that's a builder that's listening to this, anybody else might think that that's BS. Anybody that's a builder that's listening to this is going to say, yeah, I remember that. And I experienced it too. And during that time, 100%, did we have some, I remember in this office, like having conversations with our clients and they get really emotional. And I can understand why. If I was sitting over there and I'm facing, what do I do? Do I continue construction with my house? Or do I knuck up with this 60 grand or 80 grand, whatever it might have been? And honestly, like Ben and I came out doing the right thing, living by the golden rule, supporting our clients, wanting to survive those builds with an excellent reputation Um, would I have done it differently these days? I think so. And when I say differently, I would have been a lot more prepared for how to have those conversations,
Mm-hmm.
potentially how to make other modifications, um, maybe even provided loans rather than just saying, "Hey, we'll take care of this and it'll come out of whatever proceeds we expected to make on the job." So there's probably plenty of people out there listening thinking, you guys are idiots. Like, why would you ever make that business decision? When you're trying to grow a business, when you're trying to grow a business, not everybody went through those growing pains, right? Of having to make those decisions. Uniquely,
Mm-hmm.
they were ours, and
Mm-hmm.
uniquely, we made those decisions. And will I do that a number of other times in this career? I'm certain that I will. To
Mm-hmm.
do the right thing for our clients, to make sure that we're standing behind the work and the commitments that we made, regardless if whose fault is it.
Totally. You've got to go tactical. You've got to go like in the weeds of what you would do to prevent that again. You made a comment of like providing loans, being more prepared to have those conversations. Like,
Sure, let's do it.
go deep because I think that is there are certainly builders that listen to this podcast that are empathizing with you right now. And
Yeah,
like,
I would say
what would Ben or Adam do? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that what Ben and Adam would do is what we're doing now. We would bid our projects certain to the penny, right? We would take our expectations from our suppliers or subs, and we would build them in, and we would say, okay, this is the cost of the project. We'd arrive at the culmination of all the quotes and everything, and that's it. Through years of experience, we understood that well we're going over budget on this. We're going over budget on that, incrementally by thousands, maybe sometimes even tens of thousands. And so we're learning from these and we're saying, there's no need to do that again. There's no need to just to take this bid, take it at face value, or understand that there's something missing from the scope of work and use that. Now with our experience, we're building those scopes of works with our subcontractors or trades, our suppliers, and we're saying, no, actually, we know we're going to need these things. They're going to become required. That plywood that's going on the ceiling of the porch to accept the TNG tongue and groove, we're going to need that in our humid, hot South Carolina climate. Otherwise, these boards are going to go and sorry, these boards are going to
Warp.
do these things, right? And
Yep.
warp. And somebody might have an issue with it, somebody might not. We are because we know we can do better. And so we're building in those facets of materials that we know we're going to use. And so we're protecting the budgets, protecting our clients. And in our stipulated sum budgets, certainly our clients get the benefit of any savings that we're able to develop through any means possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's planning for those conversations before they ever get there. It's budgeting to not have to deal with the cost of regret.
Totally.
Budgeting properly to not have to deal with the cost of regret, which for clients can stick around for years and decades and for as long as they own and experience that home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's an important aspect is one of the things that we do today to protect those conversations of project overruns and proper accounting is just getting super specific and detailed and having great conversations about the scope of work and the project and the level of fit and finish that we're going to deliver.
Totally. Totally. I love that like getting subs and trades and vendors involved early, but also like I think you're making an exceptional point emphasizing the importance of job costing, right?
Cool.
And looking at your numbers. I did an episode with Shane Glass. He's running like multiple entities in Ohio, and he is just like an absolute stickler on categorization, job costing, like making sure that things are consistent and even consistent and accurate. And even if it's wrong, right? Even if it shows an overage, at least you can act on that in the future, right? And then you can come to the table with the sub and be like, look, this is what we did last time on a very similar situation using plywood and between the tongue and groove to prevent stuff from being warped. And we missed it here and we were 10,000 over. We're going to need this in place on this one. And this is what we need you guys to bid us on so that we can be more accurate. It's huge. It's huge. And I think you're going that extra step. I think a lot of builders, they look at this and they go like, why do I need a job cost? Or why do I need a job cost at that level? I hear a lot of builders that are still doing 3 cost codes: subcontractors, material, and labor. And you go,
Crazy.
fine. right? Like you're keeping your P&L clean, and I guess like you have an idea of what your material was, but you prevent yourself from ever being able to go back to the dialed in accuracy that you're talking about if you're not doing that. If
No,
you make that effort, then you have to use it.
yeah, I think that's chaos at every level. I think that's uncertainty at every level. I don't think that I can meet expectations to a client without giving them the level of detail that our clients are asking when they're asking us to build multi-million dollar projects,
Totally.
or even less. I mean, we still take on projects. It's all about the clients, but we still take on projects that are sub-million all day long. I mean, construction costs and labor costs are difficult to do so, but as long as we're in alignment, our team on the goals, um, our rules for clients, and also the scope of work related to the financial exchange that we're trying to make together, then we'll do it 100%. It's about the client. Um,
100%.
but yeah, I like that you mentioned. I actually wrote down Shane Glass. I guess I need to go be a builder buddy with him because I think that we share
I'll make
a
an
lot of the
intro.
same sentiment with being able to provide certainty through job costing. Not only certainty to the client, but certainty in the expectation of how well is your business actually going to be able to perform and protect your team, which protects your clients. I mean, and
Totally.
I think that's huge. Is oftentimes we talk about doing what's best for the business. I say what's best for the business and best for the clients, because ultimately, if it's best for the business, it is good for the clients. And I think some individuals, clients that are looking for the lowest price contractor are really only, and there's always exceptions to the rule, are really always shooting themselves in the foot.
Totally.
Is I can be the most impressive contractor to anybody by going out and using all the lowest bids that I get on a project. But go ahead, Reese. Tell me what happens if we use all the lowest bids on a project.
You're going to change order the shit out of your customer, and you're going to come at the same number that the guy was before. That's what I've been hearing. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's a
A low
combination of
quality
that.
product too. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it's a combination of that and totally missing on job site supervision,
Mm-hmm.
quality management, code enforcement. We all know that building inspectors are generally awesome, but they still miss things, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so the more eyes that you have on a project, the better the outcomes are going to be. If you really don't have any supervision there, what are your expectations? Um, and then, we're in a wind driven, rain, humid, hot, earthquake prone, hurricane prone environment here in South Carolina with salt air that is very corrosive. I mean, and what you're going to end up with is with an investment that's going to last a fraction of the time
Yes.
that you really intended that investment to do. So, I mean, it's no secret that, but we talk about it, that the lowest cost bid, and we've learned this lesson earlier in Copenhagen's days when we were bidding projects with subcontractors. It also applies to our clients. The lowest bid will always be the most expensive. It's just
Yes.
a matter of time.
You're going to pay for it, whether it's a change order or in
Just a matter of time.
fixing problems that weren't taken into consideration. Go ahead.
So what does a client do when if you come to that realization, though, Reese?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you as somebody that might be interviewing a builder,
Mm-hmm.
us per se. All right, Adam. I was totally focused on finding the lowest bidder because I wanted to maximize my value.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of totally battleshipped me there and took the wind out of my sails, and now I'm sinking. What do I do? Does it mean I have to use the more expensive builder? What do you do for these clients that are focused on? I'm one of them. I'm focused on value, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm attracted to the lowest cost. I'm not somebody that picks the highest cost or the medium.
Sure.
Um, how do you? How might you and I get to work together if you know I'm not the lowest cost provider?
This might be fluffy, but my answer would be like, you need to help the consumer identify the value.
Yeah. Holy smokes. That is, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that we're going to be on the same wavelength, but that, in other words, it's exactly what I was thinking.
Dude, it's your job as the salesperson in my
Yeah.
world, or the business owner, which is a salesperson in your world, to help the customer identify what their value is.
Yeah, and where
And
is it?
if they don't share the same value, then they're not a customer for you. Right?
And where is it?
If there's someone that's like, I want Adam, I want a 2,500 square foot right on the water, and I want it to be $800,000. You go, you are out of your mind. There is no way we can do this for you. But why do you want it to be 2,500 square feet? Why do you want it right on the water? Why do you want it to have these finishes? What are
Yeah,
you trying to accomplish with this asset? Why are you even talking about building a home if those are your expectations? What are you trying to do right now? In my world, it's called discovery. That's what do I think? That's what I think. What do you think?
well, obviously, many of things, but one, a podcast host. So you've gotten really good at asking really great questions. Um, really great questions ultimately produces really great clarity and really great conversation that generates a level of conversation for expectations to come
Mm-hmm.
into alignment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when all you get to do is value a builder on their cost, you
Mm-hmm.
really do miss every opportunity to understand the value for the next several years of a relationship or decades to come if you end up in some dispute.
Mm-hmm.
So I would, if there are building clients out there listening to this conversation, seek your clarity. You're making a
Totally.
really big financial investment. Okay. And so there's a number of ways that you can do that. You can do it yourself, or you can hire somebody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There are plenty of owners representatives, which are not big in Charleston, but we've been invited to a number of projects now with more and more of them, and I'm excited to get to work with them for that reason too, is because it does help clients understand the lingo, the conversation, having somebody in their corner, so that they can understand and hit the easy button on how to relate to what they should truly value in the building process. Now, it's not necessary. It's kind of still relatively new in Charleston, particularly I coming from working in the DC market. Of course, owners reps were a big thing up there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you that they can be, as a builder, they can be your worst enemy, or they can also be the project's biggest blessing. And the differentiator on that is whether or not you're able to provide the level of detail and organization and transparency that they require to perform their job as an owner's representative.
Totally. Get an owner representative definition out there just for the listener. This is
Okay,
someone who's trying to build
so
their own house.
yeah, so an owner's representative would be, or commonly referred to as an owner's rep, is in my previous life, in construction. One of my roles was working with an awesome commercial contractor in DC called Clark.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so Clark is gigantic. Um, Man, I'm still a fond memories of Clark. But anyway, listen, we were building these really big superstructures and that sort of thing, and there was owners representatives involved from the stakeholders of whoever the project was. So whoever the client was, oftentimes clients were big financial institutions, and
Mm-hmm.
so they would have inspectors that were in between the owners and the builders or the
Mm-hmm.
contractors. And those were referred to as owners reps in their capacity. They would
Mm-hmm.
come out and they would do their inspections, they'd inspect the draws, they'd inspect for quality, they would have conversations with the builder, they would be the intermediary to handle conversations in between really busy owners and really busy builders
Mm-hmm.
or contractors. And so it's an intermediary is what it is. And oftentimes on your larger projects, you're going to find owners reps that come in are hired by the owners to
Mm-hmm.
be in there, to help them, assist them with the project, and understand what's really a priority for them to need to know, and to help save their time and add value to the experience.
Totally. It's I see it a lot with really high end luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense with just like the way Charleston's blowing up. But yeah, it's someone who like they've got the capital to build an asset like you guys are building, and they'll send someone down that can just be like boots on the ground, help with decisions, make sure that everything's going the way that it needs to be going, and what they're buying is getting delivered. Is like
Yeah.
a way that I see it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Do I feel it's completely necessary? I think that it depends on the client, honestly.
And the
But
builder probably.
and the builder,
And the builder probably like how like what like how quality of a builder, how focused is the builder on providing and delivering a quality experience and product.
I think that that's probably, yeah. You were going a different route to get to the same destination that I was thinking of. Is um, let's you've watched him probably participate in a number of webinars and podcasts that we've done on our processes, our systems, namely our software that we continue to support and use, which is Buildertrend. And
Mhm.
I think that the level of organization that building softwares, communication devices have gotten to, that the client experience is so much more robust, has the
Mhm.
opportunity to be so much more robust than it ever has been,
Mhm.
with the level of documentation, the presentation, the organization in which you do it, the routine, the timeliness. And so Buildertrend has been a huge asset for us
Mhm.
to not take an owner's representative's place, but certainly report on the information that an owner's rep would be reporting.
Totally.
Now, if I was a bad builder and I wanted to provide information that wasn't accurate, could I do so? Sure. Would an owner's rep vet that out? Sure. But what I'm saying is, you would be out of business if you did that repeatedly anyway. So I don't expect that there's too many people out there doing that. But what I'm saying is, there are plenty of tools to still continue to make clients very comfortable and very certain with the progress and the schedule and the financial accountability of every project throughout the progress of construction. So, um, talking about that, I still think, and as we're in your environment with adaptive,
Mhm.
which is financial literacy and responsibility. Um,
Totally.
these questions that you were asking me earlier about mistakes and growth. 100% every builder, no matter where he comes from, he's going to go through an evolution, a learning curve of fiscal responsibility.
Totally. And it's one of the fiscal responsibility is I don't know, and this is maybe just me thinking that most people are good in this world, but I think that these like financial responsibilities don't come at like in a malice experience for them. Like they're not trying to do it intentionally. There certainly are builders out there that have tried to pull the rug over clients' eyes to try and make a buck. But I think a lot of it does come from just with like the nuance of what they're building. And I think a lot of builders get into this for the passion for the trades and for the craft and delivering a very high quality product. And just like the sheer amount of variability that happens in those builds and delivering that product can really hurt their ability to uphold that financial responsibility. And I think that's where products like Adaptive, like Buildertrend, Procore, like truly you take your pick, that's really like what they're trying to solve for is insulating the builder so that they can uphold that financial responsibility to the consumer, which I think most of them do want. Builders do want to do that.
As a builder, I really want to be focused with our clients. I was
Mm-hmm.
going to say in the field with our clients,
Totally.
building beautiful homes while building beautiful relationships and totally maximizing the opportunity to have the best experience or the grand experience. And so, if that requires me to always be in the office doing financial reconciliations, and there's in our business, there's, I don't know, 300 invoices that come through every month at least.
That's insane.
It's insane, right? And
That's
so,
the variability I'm talking about. Go ahead.
yeah, and if we didn't have processes and systems in place to deal with them efficiently and
Mm-hmm.
accurately,
Mm-hmm.
you can imagine where my time would be taken. It'd be taken away from the clients, away from their experience, away from the quality control, away from all the creative work that we get to do with the architects and the engineers. And so, when I think about the need for softwares and processes and systems, it's a necessity.
Oh, it's like
It's a
totally.
viability thing. It's you're not a builder if you're in the business working on putting out the fires all the time. And I think that, hey, we've been there in some levels of capacity before,
Totally.
Feeling really good about breathing today about not having those issues. There's always little nuances and level up things and, innovation here and there. But I think that that's a big part. I think if there's builders that are out there still thinking about, man, I'm struggling with this financial stuff and the upkeep and my wife's doing it. And my advice would be you got to step back and step out of it. And you got to say, you got to realize that there's a quote, and I'm going to get this quote incredibly wrong, but I'm going to get the essence of it, that every system that you design and the results that you get from it are in perfect alignment with the way that you designed it. So you're going to get the results that you designed the system to give you.
Totally.
If you reflect on that and you say, holy smokes, I'm the one here. My design of this system or this process is the reason why I'm getting these results. Okay. So then you say, all right, what's the most important thing to do first? And I'm going to say, you got to get organized. Okay. You got to get organized. So then once you're organized, you can realize your priorities, and then you've got to get resourceful. So get organized, prioritize, and get resourceful, and identify and make the hard decisions that my wife or whoever else might have been running my books or doing my bookkeeping, if they don't have the knowledge they need to be prepared to do the organization and the fiduciary responsibility associated with accounting, to make sure that the job costing and the budgets and the reporting are all up to date and accurate,
Totally.
then you've got to find somebody that can. And
Totally.
Adaptive, I think, helps out in a really big way with that.
Or something. Or something.
Right.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go,
True.
go, 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 go.
100%.
Yeah.
There are opportunities for you to be resourceful today, to
Mm-hmm.
find the physical manpower or woman power help. There you go, woman power. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of women in construction. That was easy for me to do. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
done that one yet, though. Woman power. That's great. I love it, man. Sorry, these are the things that I get excited about. I can't hide it.
You're good. You're good. Keep going.
All right. So either find the woman power, find the technology, the software power,
Yeah.
or find the AI power. There's some incredible
Dude.
advancements that are coming to help. I mean, I've talked about this. I remember maybe last year it was a podcast or something I was invited to, and I talked about, holy smokes, after college, after our education, no matter where you stopped, somewhere between 18 and 22 or 24, most everybody stops learning.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe stretch it into like the first 5 years of your career where you're learning new stuff about a career in an industry. And then you start to really plateau. So your growth curve goes like this on learning, you kind of flatten out, and then it's just horizontal or maybe even
Right.
on
A
a downward.
decrease.
And I was making the point, don't let yourself do that. There's an
Dude.
insane amount of podcasts, webinars, online content, people sharing in our industry to help level up. There's people that are always willing to have a conversation. I'm one of them. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
that's listening to this, look me up at Cope Grand Homes,
Mm-hmm.
Adam at copegrand.com. You can email me, call me, and say, I've really got this issue. Would you mind just spending 5 minutes or 10 minutes with me to help talk me through it? And I will. And there's thousands of people that'll do that. Now, you can also talk to AI. If you're not
Totally.
comfortable talking to somebody about these issues, there are other resources out there to get help. And I guess this content here is kind of really, I feel now, is kind of directed towards how do we help other people? How do I share my experience to help others? And that's really actually bringing me a lot of gratification to be able to share that, and hope it does too.
Dude, well, hey, that was beautiful, by the way. But that's why I'm doing this. That is my entire role right now. Head of Construction Network. Like, cool title, sure. But what does that really mean? That means getting builders on to share their stories, building community, getting them to network, knowing that so many builders run into these challenges and they have all these insane careers with all these learning patterns that are willing to open up and share to better the industry. That's really what we're doing. So I love that you shared your contact. I love that you opened yourself up to this because, dude, you don't have to be the $1.5 million, $2 million a year guy who has gone from remodels to getting into doing a new construction home. And, you've hired a bookkeeper who you found on Craigslist, who was there for 6 months, a year, and you thought they were doing a good job in handling your invoices, and you were just happy to get out from underneath them. And then all of a sudden you turn around and your books are a mess and you fire them, and then you go and try and
You're
find
stealing
someone else.
money. You stole the client's money.
Right? Like they're doing all this crazy stuff. And like, of course I use a financial example, but the point being is like, you need to step back to understand what you've built and then focus on, get organized, prioritize, and then get the resources in
Oh
place.
man, you just did it just like that. Woo.
It's good. It's good. We might name the episode this: organize, prioritize, resource. But
Cool.
point being, dude, that's what it's about. Like that's what it's about. And I always, my big soapbox recently, if you go through this episode, is like, you look at all these builders over the and we're coming up on time. We've been way over, so thank you for giving me more time. Point being, is my big soapbox has been in the last 5 years. You brought up COVID from like a price escalation standpoint, right? Commodities were insane. Supply chain was nuts, totally crippled building processes, like brutal. But that also brought a ton of appreciation to the market, insanely low interest rates, and that gave builders in the last 5 years an opportunity to explode. And they didn't know what they were scaling. They knew they could run out and go double their top line, right? They knew that they could go out and double their volume in projects, but they hadn't taken that step back to understand what they were scaling to execute that on a positive level. And that typically results in a step back, a really bad experience. It's going to prevent them from ever doing it again, even hurting that learning curve even more. And that's what we're trying to prevent. Literally the entire reason why I started this podcast, and this is important for you because I don't know why you're not doing a podcast, but the entire reason why I did this podcast is because I wanted to make project financials less intimidating to builders, because I had nearly 10 years of listening to builders say, I have no idea how much money I'm making on my projects. I hate getting into the weeds of my financials. And that's why we're doing this. We're getting real stories from real builders and real construction accounting professionals to make this topic less intimidating so that builders can get out there and they can crush. They can build their widget, whatever that widget is, whether it's a starter home for $200,000 a year, or it's a beautiful luxury custom $8 million product, $50 million product, whatever it is. And you're going to hit your margin. You're going to make money. And it's not just about stuffing your pockets. It's about hiring great people and getting them into a position to take great opportunities and grow as individuals and contribute to a community that's going to have a healthy, thriving business. End of rant.
That was the end of preaching, because that was all some really great stuff. And it did, just to add this one nugget, you reminded me of something during COVID. We never knew how much it was costing us to run our business during COVID.
Dude, yeah, overhead. It's a real thing.
Well, those builders out there, me included, I mean, we don't respect actually how much it costs to hire, retain, keep, and pay the professionals to do their work. And so, if you think that, if you think that it's okay for a 16-month job to go to 18 months, and you're running multiple jobs at a time, you're losing. You're losing.
Bleeding.
You're bleeding. And COVID caused that. And COVID caused a lot more of that. We did not respect how much time actually the supply chain was actually costing our company. And so while everybody thought that the market was going bonkers and us as builders were doing incredible, we weren't.
Dude.
We weren't.
It's far more Go ahead.
It was 2 years of that. We just were not. And to your point, when you're not paying attention to the financials and you think that you get to look at them once a year or a couple times a year, that's one of the things that we've got now is how much are we earning related to the overhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a real number. It's a real KPI, and I'd offer you guys as builders to figure out how to measure that with either on your own. It's a simple calculation, and your bookkeeper, and keep track of your target there, because a percent margin is a percent margin, and some builders get super excited when they get to earn it. But we participate in some coaching, some professional coaching, and Scott Beebe, his thing is a dollar is not a dollar, right? A dollar is never a dollar, and once you break it down and understand all the costs that are incurred with earning a dollar, you realize that at the end of the day, you're left with a penny or 2 cents or 3. And that small of a margin can be sucked up like that by mistakes, and if you make
Totally.
repeated mistakes, you're negative. You're actually negative. You took all your clients' money, you paid all your people, and now you owe people to build and finish their houses, or you go out of business and you leave them at risk. It's a very dangerous thing. So I preach all the time on being fiscally responsible. So go out there and get the resources. Know what your P&L, your profit margins are. Keep ahead of your forecasts, and be real with clients. Do not take on jobs just to earn them by using a lower margin to beat competitors. Understand there is a cost of doing work and supplying what we supply in every market. And if you're not there, you're not running a business that's going to be around for you, your children, your clients, your
Your
teams.
employees.
Yeah. And I think clients, as they hear that too, I think that should resonate, Reece. Those folks that do get the shiny object, I'm going to go with the lowest cost builder type of thing to get the best deal. You're running a risk that builder's probably running a Ponzi scheme of using the last deposit they got to start and finish your house. Um, your money is going to be on to use to finish the last house. And then
Yeah.
at the end of the project, if they don't have somebody else, your house isn't getting finished.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad, and that's where like I think another thread that I'm super interested in doing. And again, we're like over on time, so if you got to get to it, go to it. But the other thing that I'm interested in doing is educating the consumer to the value of the asset that they are purchasing. I don't think the American person understands that when they are building a home, that they are buying an asset, and depending on how much they invest in that asset is going to dictate what that asset will do. I think you look at a lot of these volume builders, and this is the third time I brought it up on the episode that I had with Thomas Joseph. I made the comment about like the DR Horton and the Lennar product. Okay, and I just use them as big national builders. That's what happens when you're the big dog. You get made the example, right? And I talk to a lot of people that buy and build, like people in my generation, they're buying into those homes, right? And there's certainly nothing wrong with them, but the majority of the problems that I hear or stories that I hear, they move into that product and they built thousands of units over that year. They move into that asset that they bought for 600 grand, 700 grand, 500 grand, whatever it is, which is a lot of money. And they're 6 months into it and they have drywall falling out of the ceiling from a plumbing leak, or a toilet that's not fit and it's like falling off, or a
Mm.
garage slab that's cracked and it's like posing foundation issues. Like you hear
Or
that stuff all the
mold
time.
that's secretly affecting their health.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying is like educating the consumer as to why a quality built product, an asset to that level, is far more important than whatever I can beat a contractor up on price. Because if you do that, you're going to run into those issues. And you made the comment earlier, I took the change order route, but you took the you're going to pay for it at some point, whether it's in mold and remediation, whether it's fixing and repairing the home, whatever it might be, you're going to pay for it. So if you can't afford a 2,500 square foot home, build a damn good 1,200 square foot home, 1,500
Totally.
square foot home.
I
Like
mean,
get something that you can do.
yeah, and that's the opportunity to have those conversations with clients.
Yep.
Getting them. We started off this conversation of being educators and getting them to um, understand what it takes and the proper level of investment that they want to make to get the exchange that they're looking to get. It's getting them to certainty on what they can have for what they want to invest,
Totally.
and not sugarcoating it to say I can deliver something better than anybody else. The same. Come
Dude,
on,
you
that's
just hurt
salesman.
so many
That's
people when you do that.
used car salesman. Damn it, man. It's unfortunate that every industry has it, but um, yeah, it happens in construction. You know,
It does. It does. And that's where like, I don't know, maybe like a part of me does think that most people are good. But I think that like people make desperate decisions in desperate situations. And I think you can mitigate a lot of that desperation if you just take a step back and focus on getting organized and
like organized and
prioritize
prioritized,
and then
and
resource.
understanding your resources.
That's right. That's right.
What
I think you
level
can
of
mitigate a lot
investment
of
is it? What level? What's the value of the investment
it.
of picking the right person and having the best experience?
Dude, I think that's an obligation of a builder, helping the client get there.
Speaking of the obligation of a builder is helping people get there is taking that to the next level of a builder, having those conversations with their subs and suppliers.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. There was a lot at the Contractor Coalition Summit talking about like that sub and vendor relationship. And I think it's so crucial. I think the people that just look at vendors and trades as just like people that are executing the work is like such a short-term goal. Like if you're getting into this thing and you're a new builder and you're not prioritizing like really building a strong relationship and curating a good like motivated crew of people that are excited to work for you, you're missing the boat. Because the faster you start, the more tenure you're going to have and the better product and outcome you're going to have with those individuals.
I think relationships. Well, there's a certainly our creator that is the meaning of life, but looking back, the one thing that we can take with us is the value of our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and man, we have luckily we're fortunate to get to work on those and have them and create new ones and repair old ones every single day.
Yep.
Uh, and that's talking about being fulfilled. I might leave us with that. I might say, hey, of all the things that are worthwhile and meaningful in life, in this industry, in construction, it is being transparent, having wonderful conversations, and building the most wonderful relationships that you can.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I think
Great. Sorry to get deep on you on that
that's
one,
what it
but
is. Dude, I
man,
think
it's
it's great.
been a
That's
realization for me again recently, and I've been sharing that with some other groups and other people, and so it came back up because I think it really is um, transformative and monumental in how we deal with things.
totally. Well, I think it grounds the episode, right? Because I mean, that's really that's why you do it. I mean, I think you can like argue like you do it for money, you do it for this, you do it for that, but
Oh
you don't
no,
really get you
no.
don't get to the money without relationships, right?
Did I
The
ever?
money the
Yeah.
money should be the byproduct or the outcome of
Have I ever
doing
told
an
you?
exceptional job.
Have I ever
Huh.
mentioned it in front of you? Have I ever mentioned it in front of you? Because we've
I don't
we've
know.
spent some time in different events and different
Yeah.
forums.
Yeah.
Have I ever mentioned to you that us builders are just fools with egos?
Fools with egos. I mean, I don't remember it. You might
Okay,
have.
they'll remember. Okay,
Yeah,
well, I feel
dig.
like
Yeah.
your brain, you have an incredible amount of retention. So I'm certain now that I've never brought it up in front of you, but I will explain then. Us builders are just fools with egos. I started saying that years ago after self reflection, saying that man, our ego just wants to build the most beautiful homes and beautiful projects and unique and character and all this stuff, right? Imagine whatever home or project that you want to build. Um, those are our egos. But gosh, are we foolish? Because if we're after it to create a successful business where we're going to make money, um, this business is the toughest one that we could ever imagine to run.
Mm-hmm.
And create a successful career that provides predictable and repeatable results. I really do think that in a lot of cases we have to take our ego. I have to check our ego at the door so that we're not fools. Because it's really easy to get captivated by the shiny objects of building beautiful things, but if we think it's going to be easy, we're just fools. Another fool in this industry.
You got to watch the Trent Waldrop episode. It's getting ready. It'll drop, I think, like what next week, next Tuesday. What is it to the 6th today? You got to watch it because I admire that guy. Tupelo, Mississippi. He isn't trying to compete with the biggest and the baddest. He is just totally focused on building a quality, price sensitive product for people that just want to get into a good house. He like the ego gone, biggest heart in the world, totally focused on just like, dude, I'm trying to sit across the table from people that are trying to get out of a mobile home, having zero ever like expectation that they could begin it, even build a house, let alone buy one. And they can sit across the table from me and we can talk about what is their budget, what are they trying to do, cut square footage out, add square footage in, talk about finishes, talk about quality structure. Do they want Tyvek? Do they want zip? What's that going to do to the home? Like he is all about it at a level of consumer that I think, and I agree with him, is totally forgotten on. So to your point of like egos or fools with egos, like you got to listen to this episode because that's what we talk about. And I thought it was just a super compelling episode.
No doubt. Yeah, I love it.
Inspirational. Yeah. Yeah.
Mississippi, you said?
Tupelo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
How's
dude.
his accent?
Barely has one. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
You
really?
listen to it. Yeah. You listen. It's
Okay.
fun.
I
It's
was gonna
hilarious.
say
You got to
no.
listen to it. You got to
Yeah.
listen to it. He's just a great dude. He's a great dude. He's got an awesome story. You got to listen to it. It reminds me a lot of that comment you made. Fools with
Yeah.
egos.
No, and I
Yeah.
want to change that. I'm bringing it up because I want to change it.
Totally.
I want this to be an industry with the smartest guys in the room, and I want us to share best practices. I really do want us to share in best practices. I don't think that that's where we need to compete. There's obviously the right things to do in business, the right things to do in accounting, the right things to do in communication, and a way to be accountable. And I think we can all share and help each other with that so that we don't have to be foolish in what we're doing to expect results that we're never going to expect or get. Sorry.
Totally.
100%.
Well,
So
you keep your phone on, Adam. You keep your phone on. I'll be giving you a call. I've got some stuff up my sleeve in
yeah,
terms of what you're talking about. But dude, I don't know. We've got the record for the longest podcast here, and I actually do. I want people to like and subscribe and follow and comment if they made it this far because I love it. I've been going like much more conversational, much more long form. Like I kept these like almost religiously, like 30 to 45 minutes, 46, 48. If it gets into 50, we're deep territory. We're at an hour and 6, and I
yeah.
love it.
And you and I could probably keep going for another couple hours too.
Yeah, we could. I'm actually going to be in Charleston.
Yeah, well, let's just save it for another time. We'll discover some other really cool topics that might be timely for the audience, and
let's save
and
it.
you and I just like talking anyway, so let's do it.
We do. Actually, hang on while we're here. I'm going to be in Charleston. I'm going to be putting on an elite builder dinner in Charleston.
An elite builder dinner?
That's right. Elite builder dinner.
What's elite?
Well, that's what I said. Keep your phone on you.
Didn't even get an invite. Damn.
I'm literally just. I haven't invited anybody. I just have. I have the location set. It's not even on my calendar. We talked about the date. It's the end of August. I will text you the date. But we'll keep it going there. God, why did I think it was? Because I'm going to be in Minneapolis September for this. Point being, we'll keep it ripping there. I'm going to get you the details on it. Adam, I appreciate you, sir. Always good chatting.
Hey,
I'll try and tack on. Actually, we should probably do a weekend. I could do like the elite builder dinner and then do a weekend and hang out with you and Ben.
That sounds great. But we'll get the experience. You have to talk to Mike Weaver, see what he thought.
Big Mike. I'll have to shoot him a text. I think I saw some stuff on his Instagram. I have a feeling that Mike Weaver does exceptionally well in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, I think he does. I think he did. I think he really enjoyed himself. Of course, he got the whole experience. We did projects. We did project tours. We did site tours. He got to visit the Kiowa golf course.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like this is right up Mike's alley.
And he's like, yeah, I can't come here and not go or swim or do the ocean. And we're like, well, how about just get out on a boat? He's like, yeah. So
that's what I'm saying, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So we went and hopped on a boat, went to the beach, and the dolphins are swimming. And like I said, the clients, it just so happened that we pulled up next to some clients of ours, and we're like, wow, you never expected. It was a Thursday afternoon or something like that. Wild.
Hey, did you get Emser in their house, in that client's house? Did you guys use Emser tile in that house? Or was that before you knew Mike?
No, we are working on having some Emser products in some of our houses, and honestly,
why don't you just put all of your? Why don't you do all Emser in your house? In your houses?
I'm not going to make that commitment on trying somebody new to develop or devote all of our projects to it. However, we have projects in different stages, so long as we have a great experience on these first couple, we will continue to do it, and maybe that will turn into all of them.
Well, I think you could forecast using it all because I hear great things about Mike, and I mean, I don't talk to a lot of tile people, candidly, but that guy knows tile, and that guy knows quality.
Yeah,
he's a good.
And he knows how to. He's very resourceful. Oh, what did you say? And he's texting. Okay, I'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Mike's the guy.
Yeah,
Mike's the guy. Okay, cool. I'll get you dates on that. We'll get down to South Carolina. It's the end of August, so I'll get you actual dates. I'm pretty sure it's Thursday.
Best of luck. Enjoy the hell out of that move, man. Julia.
Dude, it's gonna be
Yeah,
well, it's not gonna be a grind. It's exciting. It's
it's
exciting. We're living
exciting
in
because you
Denver.
get to, I mean, not the career, but most of the career, but it's a fresh start. I was sharing with somebody that's in my network was telling me about their having a tough time with their daughter who's 18, and their friends are going to college and she's not yet. She hasn't left for college yet, and I was like, no way. This is such a cool opportunity. I wish she could realize that what I didn't realize. I was in the stress point that she was, where I felt like, oh my gosh, my whole world's getting ripped apart. I'm losing everything, all that. Like, no way. Now, this is your opportunity to go reflect on like all your friends that you made up to this point, like love on which experiences that you really cherish the most, and say, wow, I'm never losing them. But now I'm going to a place where I get to make more friends. And this time I get to say, oh my gosh, I really like these people. I'm going to go focus on this group and how to make those friends. And then I'm going to put all of them together and it's going to be awesome. And the rest of life is going to be grand. And I was like, the opportunity is in gratitude, but also reflection, because I think that we can all, like she probably maybe stifled in her own world a little bit, not
Totally.
realizing the opportunity. So man, you get this opportunity to move again and really make it better than ever.
100. I'm so stoked. So I moved to Boston right out of college, and I was there for a year. And I think that's probably like with this gal, what I'm picking up on is like she's probably like a little analysis paralysis. Like she just needs to do one jump. She just needs to go like
Yeah.
go somewhere and do something, and then from there, it's like it's never going to be easy, but you're always like in the back of your mind, it's like, okay, I can do this type of thing, and
Oh,
that's what we're stoked about. Is like just like a total fresh perspective. Been in Colorado for 5 years, done a lot of really great things. From just like an experience standpoint, passion standpoint. And we're super excited to go and explore New England and do it in Boston. We got a great team out there. Super stoked to work with them in office. I've been remote for 5 years since I was at Buildertrend. Dude, 5.5 years almost. Like, dude, it's been a grind, and I cannot wait to get into an office setting, make friends, drive results, just like do all the things that are important. So
yeah. You going to take that chair into the office with you?
dude, no, but we are gonna take it with us, obviously. Dude, we got
Yeah,
one of these
you
Kelty
definitely need
double
to take it with
series.
you. It's going to be the first thing that's unpacked, the first opportunity to sit down, like
Yeah.
before the couches and the beds come. You might be sleeping on it at night for a while.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, the Kelty's definitely coming. But yeah, no, we're super stoked. It'll be good. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. You have to come up to Boston too, because I'm gonna do a podcast studio up there. We could have you in for a podcast episode in the studio.
Yeah, you know what? I've never been to Boston. I mean,
I think we
maybe
talked about that at the Coalition Summit.
driving through or something. Yeah, but I'd love to go. And I think probably like that particular time of the year where Boston's actually Boston. I'm not sure if that's baseball season, or if it's fall. It's probably not winter. Probably
Dude,
fall.
like right now,
Yeah,
honestly, September, October.
yeah. Those are always busy
Yeah.
times, but we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and you could just come up whenever. I mean, Boston's a great city whenever. People complain about the weather, but and I grew up in Nebraska. So like I'm like, whatever. Wind and cold isn't a big deal. You're from Charleston. You might need to
I'm
get
not
a
from
new
no. Ben and I are from
wait.
Pennsylvania. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you get
So
cold.
yeah, we're
You
from
get
the
cold.
Northeast.
Yeah.
Wow, that's why I moved. I was
Yeah.
like, no way, don't want that anymore. Like if I have the choice of extending my spring, summer, and fall, which is exactly what Charleston does effectively. It also removes the gray, slushy stuff, right? Using language appropriately, that sticks to the
Yes.
bottom of your boots and your pants that you just can't seem to shake, and you
Dude.
drag into your house and all that other stuff. Like, no way do I want that anymore. And
Yeah,
then
dude.
plus, like, oh, it's wintertime. It's going to be super cold. I can't wait for the snow. And then it doesn't come anymore. Like if I'm going to be in the north, I mean, I guess I'm going to want it to snow, and it doesn't snow, and it's just gray, slushy, icy, nasty stuff these days.
Just brutal. I mean, that was Nebraska, dude. It
Oh,
was like,
sorry, that's what you're going back to.
yeah, no, dude, I'm just empathizing. I mean, it was like 90 days of not zero
Seeing the
sunshine.
sun. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it was at State College when I went to Penn State. It was like 3 months, 90 days
Yeah.
of not seeing the sunshine, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. Uh,
Brutal.
yeah, yeah. College football season basically ended too early, and then after college football season, it was like, what? Wait a second. The
Yeah.
whole
Why are we still here?
yeah. So
Yeah. Well,
all right,
okay.
man.
Well, the wife and I will break up the winter and we'll come down to Charleston to see you guys. Get a little sunshine
Sounds
down in
great.
Charleston.
Yep.
Awesome. Appreciate you, sir. We'll
All right,
we'll
man.
talk to you later.
All right. See you, Reece. Thanks.
Got him.
Safe travels.
Yep. Thank you.